In today's webinar, we're going to show you the 5 ways to market your childcare business in your sleep. But first, before we move on, let's introduce myself. My name is Pika. I'm the marketing manager for ChildcareCRM in AU and been in the childcare marketing industry for the past 3 years. So I'm quite well versed in the challenges that centres have to build occupancy and what parents are looking for. With me today, I have my colleague Selene, and I'll pass the introductions on to her.
Hi everyone, my name is Selene Prisco. I am the Success Operation Manager here at ChildcareCRM here in Australia. So actually before working at ChildcareCRM, I was a ChildcareCRM user just like you guys are on the call. So I very much understand kind of the other side of the fence of what it's like to be a ChildcareCRM user, but also some of the pain points and some of the things you need to be well versed in terms of managing your services and making sure you're using the most out of ChildcareCRM. Okay, so here we are. We're really excited to see you guys on the call. Let me see, we've got 8 attendees so far, which is fantastic. I see some familiar names as well, which is lovely to see. So we've got a fairly good agenda for you today. We're going to be going over what today's parents want. So that's going to be a bit of a highlight in terms of what that experience looks like that they're seeking. Following that, we're going to talk about our millennial parents, right? So that's our primary demographic of parents. So we're going to be highlighting kind of what they're expecting from you. We'll do a walk through the parent enrollment journey and just some key points to highlight through that journey, some benefits of marketing automation for your business, and then we'll get to the real stuff, which is the 5 ways to market your childcare business in your sleep, which is why you all attended today. And then we'll just do a little bit of a follow-up and a takeaway from that. Okay, so let's get straight into it. There we go. So let's talk about what today's parents want. So we've all probably heard pain points and, you know, some scenarios of not the ideal parent experience that our parents have heard. So maybe long wait times, not easy to book a tour, things like that. So we really want to focus on what today's parents want. So I actually have quite a few friends that are expecting, and I had one friend who recently shared a story with me. And what I actually was so happy to hear about when she told me about her experience was that this service had actually covered off on all 4 points here: convenience, self-service, immediate response, and text communication. So I was really impressed with that. So the story is actually quite straightforward in the sense that she jumped online, she was on Google, she looked for a service and was able to find something that was fairly close to her home. Once she did that, she saw that there was a book a tour button, so she was able to really easily book a tour at a time that was fairly convenient for herself. And once she booked that tour, she received confirmation over email almost immediately. And then prior to the tour, she received a text just confirming her attendance. So she was really impressed. She thought, oh, that was great. And what I, again, reiterated to her was that's exactly what we're wanting to see in terms of a parent experience. So I was really impressed with that service, that they hit off on all 4 points fairly easily. And that was, you know, her first real engagement with that service. So overall, she was fairly pleased. So next we'll chat quickly about our millennial parents. So Pick and I are both millennials, so I think there's a lot of stats here on this page that really resonate to us. And as you're probably reading through them, you're either saying, yeah, I can attest to a lot of these, or think it's true. But I want to highlight 3 that I think are just really important to keep in mind when you're thinking about your millennial parents, right? So you need to essentially make sure you're catering to that demographic of families. Make sure that you're offering them an experience that they appreciate. So 60% of millennials like to communicate via text messaging. Pick and I actually chatted about this ahead of the call, and you know, we both can absolutely agree that that's the case. And if you have any millennials in your life right now, that's probably the case. You're, you know, probably texting each other. So make sure that you're offering that as an option for your families. Make sure that there's a text option. We've kind of moved away from just that phone option, that email option. So I think it's really important that you're at least allowing that as an option. Now, it may not be for everyone, but at least it's an option available. Number 2, let's talk about 50% of millennials prefer to receive reminders through their mobile device. definitely the case. You know, that's to me just kind of common practice now when we're doing hair appointments, you know, doctor's appointment, restaurants, you know, we're getting those reminders. So I think it's important for you to also be offering that as well when it comes to a prospective parent looking to book a tour at your service, making sure that you're offering that really seamless but also modern experience, because, you know, 50% of your parents are actually expecting that and looking for that. So keep that in mind. And the last one I wanted to highlight there was 73% of millennials say that valuing their time is important. I mean, hands up here, I know that's the case for me as well. You know, we're busy juggling our lives, work, you know, family, everything that's going on. So I think it's really important to just make sure that the experience that you're offering to your families is one that is, you know, efficient and effective, and making sure that your parents feel as though their time is being valued. If they feel as though you're not valuing their time, or that, you know, you're taking too long to get back to them, that's going to, you know, leave a bad experience for them. And so just keep that in mind, is that that may actually affect your churn or your retention at your family. So just a couple of things to keep in mind in terms of our demographic of families that we're seeing today. Alrighty, so we'll walk through the parent enrollment journey here. So this journey is something that, you know, your parents are going to be going on, right? So this is the journey that you're going to be taking them on when they're going to be potentially choosing to enroll. And something to keep in mind is that this can actually be quite daunting and a little bit scary for new parents. So try to make this a really enjoyable experience for them. Make it kind of clear and simple, and take them along the journey with you. You know, don't make them guess, don't make them do all the hard work, right? That's where you're there for. You're there to kind of take them along and show them the steps involved, and make sure that they feel comfortable. So there are a couple things I do want to highlight just as key things that I really think are important to keep in mind when you're designing and talking about this parent enrollment journey. So number one, parent lands on your website. So for a lot of cases, this is actually going to be their first impression of you. So just think about, what's that first impression going to be like? What's that experience like? An exercise that I like to have people go through is maybe have a family member or friend jump on your website and see if they're able to easily book a tour or submit an inquiry. And if they are struggling, or they're maybe a little lost on the website, have a think about what that experience is like for other prospective families. So just some food for thought, something to think about. Then next, your parent expresses a little bit of expresses interest in your service. So this is where we're all about response times. You know, this is what we were talking about. People don't, you know, want to have their time wasted. They are looking for those immediate response times. So think about your current experience. Is that immediate? Is it days? Is it hours? What's that experience like? You know, you can see there that we are really seeking a timeline of about 10 minutes. So if it is around there, that's great. That's exactly what our parents are looking for. If it's longer, is there a way you can potentially reduce that? And this is where I really highlight automation as, you know, a really good friend of yours, because this can really make this process a lot easier for you. And then just make sure that we're, you know, giving what our parents want in terms of that immediate response. Following that, let's talk about that post-tour experience. So we all know that tour is an opportunity for you to really shine, show your service, make sure that they kind of fall in love with what you're about. But what happens after that? If that's not clear, this is where a lot of parents are going to get lost and confused. So make sure you're that service that stands out by following up with them, making the following steps clear. Really, this is where I'm saying guide them through that journey. Make sure that you are laying out those next steps and not making them do all the heavy lifting, right? Don't make them call you, you call them. Don't make them send the first email. That should be you doing that. So make sure you're making that really clear for them. And then lastly, I just wanted to highlight parent is ready to enroll, right? So what's that enrollment experience at your service like? Is that stressful? Is it easy? Does it take weeks on end, or is it you know, 1 or 2 day process? So this is just a little bit, again, some food for thought in terms of what's that experience like at your service, and if there are areas of improvement. You know, here at ChildcareCRM, we have tools in place, we have features in place to really make that a slick experience. So if you're thinking, you know what, we do need to work on that, let us know, because this is where we're saying, hey, we can help you and get you through that and that journey a lot faster.
Cool, thanks, Helen. I definitely agree on that parent experience. Some parents might think, you know, it's just click a button or visit the center and enroll, but it actually has a few steps that goes along with it. And it could be pretty long and daunting for them. So I feel them.
Yeah.
So for those who were at our webinar last week, you may have heard the phrase marketing automation or automation. But now that you're seeing this on the screen, you're probably thinking, what is marketing automation actually, and why should you care about it? So let's take it back just a little bit. A workflow automation is a series of automated actions that is triggered by something the family does. However, a marketing automation is focused solely on the communication aspects through text messages and emails, guiding them along through the next steps and helping families complete the action that you want them to complete. So for example, instead of manually sending emails or texts every time someone books a tour at your center, the system does it for you automatically. Now you may think, yeah, that's cool, but how does that feature actually benefit my center and saving time? So let's think of the bigger picture. So let's say you manually send out an email confirmation for a tour, and that kind of process takes about 15-20 minutes. You have to check the time and the date is correct and available for you. You have to write up the emails, you have to hyperlink some resources to them, and you make sure you get the name right and the family's name right. And let's say a tour is scheduled at your center about 10 times a week. So on average, that's actually 200 minutes that you have lost sitting in front of your computer doing the same thing that that marketing automation could do for you. And I think that I would call that productive. If you can save 200 minutes in a week, you could do all of the goals that you wanted on the floor. So with marketing automation, you're able to increase the efficiency and save time for your educators and directors, which I think everyone loves to hear. Meet your occupancy goals, interact with your families on a personal level. We'll get to that a little bit later, and develop better targeting and build strong brand image right from the very start of the inquiry journey. So now that you've heard all the benefits coming out of marketing automation for your business, it's time to jump into the 5 ways to market your childcare business in your sleep. So for number 1, the first thing is automate follow-up with inquiring families. So I just touched on a little bit of that just before. So when you're trying to get families to enroll with you, it's basically a race to get to the family first. Millennial parents have quite short attention span, and I can attest to this, and it's not by choice. They're taking care of their child. They're cooking lunches, they're cleaning, they're working, and the list just goes on and on. So if your center is manually following up with these families, in the time spent that you are coordinating the follow-up email to them, they may have already forgotten about you and moved on to a new task, and moved on to a new center even. So that center might have already sent them an automatic email or text message inviting them to a tour or giving them an incentive to enroll. So marketing automation is all about capturing their attention within that 5 crucial minutes, so they are willing to move on to the next step with you fast, and they don't become a lost opportunity like my scenario before. So the stage between inquiry and tour is quite important. For the parents, there's no such thing, there's no strings attached for them just yet. So you want them to move on to in that lead status pipeline quickly and get them towards thinking about enrolling at your center. So you can increase your conversion rate and parent satisfaction by giving them fast and helpful information right from the very beginning.
Awesome. I think what's also important to keep in mind, and this is something that I tell a lot of my customers about that automation, is to be really proactive with the information that you're providing. So instead of waiting for the family to ask about, a certain group of questions, I think most of us can probably come up with FAQs that are helpful to a parent. So be proactive with that, provide that to them, and then you're more likely to have that family, like Pika said, go through those stages really quickly, and then get to step number 2 here, which is, booking a tour. So step 2 is let parents schedule tours from your website. So this is really important. I think, of course, we know our parents are looking for that self-service option, right? They're looking for that now. So when they go to your website, they'll be looking for a little book a tour button, or they'll be looking for that. So number 1, make sure you make that obvious and really simple and straightforward for them. You don't want them to be searching around your website looking for that. But the benefits of this are not only for the parent side, but on your staff side. So number 1, it allows more parents to reach you, right? So there's a lot of parents nowadays that are working that are unable to either send an email or call during business hours. So you having a button or a book a tour option on your website allows for more families to reach you outside of those business hours, which is really ideal. You know, I've shared a story before about a parent. I'm seeing an inquiry, a book a tour inquiry come in at about 4 a.m. And at the time I was going, oh my goodness, what's happening here? But then later, you know, we chatted and realized that parent was actually nursing her little baby at the time and was thinking about childcare and had an opportunity to jump online and submit a tour booking. And so it's those scenarios that you need to keep in mind, that when you have that available, you're actually going to be getting more tour bookings. The other great thing to keep in mind is it's really going to be saving your staff time. So instead of going back and forth with a family, trying to figure out a time and a date by email or maybe missed calls, if you set up your calendar in a way that is, you know, suits your availability and kind of what you can offer, it eliminates the staff having to be involved in that back and forth process. So it's really just a really optimal experience for your families. And like I said, it will save your staff a lot of time, and you can really cater it to what's happening at your service, which I think is really important to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. So like I mentioned in step 1, parents need and want to know what's next and how to enroll your center, even in the first stages. Is it hard? Is it simple? So the rule of 7 that you see here is quite simple. And also it makes sure that you are taking through the best parts of your center or your early learning program, or, you know, your facilities, and let them know that your center is the center that they need to choose. So the picture kind of shows, well, it's kind of like a center roadmap. The 7 emails doesn't all have to be during the inquiry stage, and it's best not to bombard families at one time with too much information. They'll just get overwhelmed and not read it at all. So the 7 emails can include in between touch points. So like I said before, 1 email for inquiry, 1 email after the inquiry, 1 email before the tour, you know, getting them excited, and then 1 after, how was it? So keep that kind of conversation going within the 7 emails. So, and making sure they also move through the stages quite swiftly and simply. You don't want them to get confused in the middle of it and not have that communication of letting them how to do it or letting them what's next. So think of it as a hand-holding campaign. It can be confusing and hard to keep up for families to go through the early stages of enrollment. So by communicating with them along the way, you're giving them a helping hand that they'll appreciate once they have enrolled your center, and they'll also remember it as well. In our last webinar, I think we mentioned a word of mouth recommendation. This is probably one of the recommendations that parents will tell their friends about. Like they'll tell their friends, they communicate with me so well. I knew what to do, what's next. They were so easy, this and that. So you want that conversation to be held with families and other prospects as well. So I think I mentioned this earlier about personalizing that communication with families. So it's the start of a meaningful relationship. You want to start being friendly with them before they even start at your center. So personalization keys are going to be your best friend throughout the automation journey. You can add in variable tags such as first name, the center name, director's first name, which comes in handy if you have multiple locations, so that they know who they're talking to and why they're talking to this center. So for example, if a parent with a toddler inquires for care, you can send them information based on their child's age, such as, toilet training, teething, or program start dates, so that the parent is being valued of their time and knows that the center understands what their family needs and what their family wants. It's easily a waste of inbox storage, honestly. And if you send them the wrong kind of information, they'll just delete it, not read from your emails. And if the message doesn't come across as personal and welcoming, why should they even bother opening it, really? So I know for myself that I'm loyal with businesses that are sending me emails that at least use my first name, so that it just gives that personal touch, like they're talking to me, not a whole group of me, but just me specifically. So, always try to start small and move forward from there. Start with personalizing the parent's name, then moving on to personalizing the child's and family's needs and wants. This way, it will also help the director and your educators create that relationship before they start at the center. So they can provide things that the child likes or what they need more support on and things like that, which is a nice touch, I think, when you go into a center.
I totally agree with a lot of that. I know I was looking at my inbox earlier, actually, my Gmail, and I was noticing that some online shopping that I do was including my name in the subject line, and it really calls to you. So keep that in mind in the sense that when you see your name, you go, "Ooh, what's that about? Ooh, they know who I am." And it's totally the same thing when it comes to these emails. So it's a proven tactic. It works really well. And we're encouraging you to do the same with your prospective families. Now, step 5 is nurture waitlisted families until the point of enrollment. So this is really important, and this is actually vital to having a healthy waitlist. So a healthy waitlist is, you want to see a healthy size number, and you want to have genuine, actually waitlisted families that are potential revenue to your organization. Now, keep in mind, joining a waitlist can be a process or a step that a lot of families, it's their first time ever doing it. So they don't actually really know what they're signing up for or what they're really doing. So keep that in mind when a family joins your waitlist. In terms of that nurturing communication, you really want to, like a lot of the other steps we've said before, guide them through the process, provide them the information, be proactive. Don't be reactive when it comes to communication. Provide them the information they want, but also nurture them. So it's really important to think about that nurturing. Make them feel warm and invited. Make sure they feel that they're part of your community. While yes, they are waitlisted and they haven't yet technically enrolled, you want them to feel connected to you, because what's going to be likely happening is a lot of families are shopping around these days, and so they're joining several waitlists. And so you want them to feel most connected to you. So then when it does come to the point of enrollment, they go, "Know what, that service, they made me feel really welcome. I felt like I was a part of the community even before I started. They kept me in the loop. This whole process has been really easy and seamless, and I've already known what to do." So be that service that really connects them at the early stages. So then when it's time of enrollment, they're already a fan, they're already ready to pop on Google and post a positive review about you. So make sure you kind of create that connection in an early stage. And a great way to do that is actually through drip campaigns. And if you could jump to that next slide, I'll show you a bit of a visual of what a drip campaign looks like. But I'm a big fan of drip campaigns, primarily because you can use them in so many different scenarios. You're almost limited by your imagination, I say, with drip campaigns. So you can use it for a new service that's opening, or waitlist is a perfect example. You want to stay connected to a waitlist family along, a long period of time, or maybe even lost opportunity families. You want to, touch base with them on a quarterly basis. So the concept behind a drip campaign is that you're going to be essentially reaching out to families over email or text. You do have a bit of an option there. And then the difference between a drip campaign and standard emailing is that you can actually be interactive with it. So as an example, we send an email to Pika, and she actually clicks on the link or she responds to it. What we can do in that drip campaign is set up a reaction or an interaction that when we see that she's clicked on that link, 2 days later, we're going to send her a text to say, "Hey, we're so excited that you're interested." And then we kind of follow up on the steps following that. So a great example is with new services opening. I'm seeing a lot of people actually utilize it there because you want to get them pumped. You want to get them excited about your new service opening. It is a bit of a gray area, right? Because sometimes you can't actually have them tour right away because the service is still being built. But you're able to tell them about your philosophy, tell them about what the center is going to look like, get them really excited, tell them, they're going to have a chef or whatever it may be. So you can kind of create that excitement through a drip campaign. And then when the family is engaged, you can send them kind of down the next path. So a great example of that is if they engage in content about toddlers. Perfect. We know that they're interested in the toddler demographic. So like Pika was saying before, instead of sending them content about babies, likely not relevant to them, right? We're going to send them content about toddlers. So again, I could talk about drip campaigns all day. I'm really, really into drip campaigns. I love them, but it's just something to keep in mind in terms of just being really efficient with your time and effective in terms of engaging those families. And a great way to start with drip campaigns is waitlist. By all means, that's a great way to start. And then like I said, you can kind of get really creative and use them in different places as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. You can get creative as big and small as you want, especially with waitlist families. You have that time to tell the story, tell why, and tell who you are before, especially for a first mom, they must be shopping around 5 to 7 centers at one time. So why should they pick you? I think that's the main focus there. So that brings us to the end of our webinar. I'm just going to release a poll, just a quick one. Just want to kind of ask what your thoughts are about Childcare CRM and what you want to learn more. But thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you've gained some insight on marketing and automation and how to improve your parent experience at your childcare center. But make sure to stay tuned for any emails from us that includes a recording and your certificate of attendance. The recording can be shared with anyone, so feel free to send that link to your colleague, to your boss, whoever that you would like to watch. We do have 2 more webinars, one in April and one in May, that goes along with this parent experience. The next one is 3 mistakes to avoid when communicating to millennial parents. So that should be quite interesting, actually. And I hope everyone jumps on that one. So if you're not a current customer of Childcare CRM and would like to learn more, there's no strings attached at the moment. You can visit our website at childcarecrm.com or email sales@childcarecrm.com with any questions that you may have about the product or about what we've just talked about today in terms of automation. And last but not least, we do have an offer that we will waive $800 of implementation and trading fees if you schedule a demo and purchase before the 10th of April. So I guess that's all.
Any questions?
Yeah,
anyone
any questions?
Have any questions from what we presented today, or just general questions? Well, you've got a marketing manager on the call here. She's an expert in marketing in childcare. And I guess an ops manager over here. Please let us know. We're of course very happy to help and assist.
Yeah, we can also answer any questions if you are a current Childcare CRM customer, how we can improve your service to your families as well. And Selena's always an email away or a phone call away if you ever want to chat with her as well.